Welcome back. It's time to go over to where Ine Thompson is to give us a wrap-up of what else is happening in the country in politics. Hello, Ine.
Hello, Chamberlain. Good evening. A prayerful campaign is what the People's Democratic Party has done in Anambra State, an interesting approach. And then it's back to PVC matters, a laudable action by INEC in Kogi State as they give out Braille to the visually impaired to enable them gather knowledge on their rights and responsibility as elections approach. The People's Democratic Party has taken its campaign to Okija Ward in Anambra State, and the approach is religious. They say the gathering is to show support for all candidates of the party from the state. Speaking in Igbo, they clarify their stance with ABGA, saying there is no alliance between PDP and ABGA. In Kogi State, the Independent National Electoral Commission is recording a not-so-common achievement. People living with disability have been included in the election plan. The state resident electoral commissioner has personally handed over materials on voter education to representatives of the visually impaired in Kogi State.
As we have said, that to enlighten you right from the education, we frequently ask persons how to comprehend correctly and other issues that relates to the electoral process.
And they are happy about the development.
Kogi State is a peaceful state. Kogi State is your home. Kogi State is where many Nigerians want to be. I am sure that as you have come to Kogi to bring a change of our story into a glory, as in the case of election, sky will be your beginning.
Meanwhile, in Niger State, messages on the wall captures a feel of what has been happening at PVC collection units. But some residents have not been deterred. PVC is still the focus of discourse here as youth and women gather to be sensitized on their roles in the forthcoming elections. They've been asked to hold their PVCs and vote in high regard. Still in Ogun State, INEC is taking stock of PVC distribution. It reveals that of the 1,370,340 cards received in the state, 860,076 have been distributed. The process of distribution also shows that 555 PVCs belonging to residents who have died are also here.
The registered voters in Ogun State is 1,795,794. Not 1,829,534 being publicly published. If we base the percentage of the PVC we have, I mean the registered voters, and the one distributed, it gives us approximately 63%.
This brings up another question of how INEC will tackle this set of cards so that it does not get to wrong hands and used for illegal acts. Well, new developments, one will say, demanding a dynamic problem-solving approach from INEC. Back to you, Chamberlain.
Well, thank you, Ine. Let's talk about solutions now. We've got less than 2 minutes to do that. I hope I can manage this properly. Let me get to Prof in Abuja. In 2011, from the figures you see here, about 5,356 people were said to have been arrested by the police, Prof, before, during, and after the, during the elections and after the 2011 elections. But then we've heard INEC say, look, over 80% of those who were arrested over election violence or election offenders were not successfully prosecuted. If those who were arrested were successfully prosecuted, how much of a deterrent do you think that would be to violence such as we're talking about now?
It will have made a huge difference difference. Huge difference. And we'll be looking at a different landscape now. But let me say this, where we are. History is useful to teach us lessons for how we manage the future. So I'll just say two things. One, the police are doing something different. We're in regular dialogue with the police, and I think they're doing something different that should be encouraged. A signal has gone out to every state police command. Everybody arrested with reference to election violence will be charged. And that has started happening. Secondly, something needs to change. A lot of state attorneys general or attorneys general chambers, federal and state, would discontinue charges for people connected with election violence who are their supporters. Can Nigerians please get every state attorney general, every governor, and the president and tell them, stop issuing nolli prosequi for cases of election violence. Everybody who is charged with election violence must face the courts and let the courts decide. As long as attorneys general continue to withdraw these cases, we will not make any progress.
All right. Thank you, Prof.
So let Nigerians hold them accountable.
Okay, let's get your final, because there are recent cases where attorney generals have entered nolli.
Yes.
He also said, look, that should stop.
Yeah, well, that's from a legalistic point of view, but there's also a political dimension in it. Part of the reason is that we fail to hold the political actors who are the catalysts of this violence over time responsible. So they are free to act with impunity. The only difference in this particular election now is because there's a lot of international interest. Kofi Annan was shown in that little clip that you're talking about. He came and spoke to us about the tragedy of Kenya and what has come out of Kenya. The reason why Kenya had behavioral modification possibility was because of the prospect of the International Court of Justice at The Hague, the ICC. But it is quite possible that in this particular electoral cycle, that if you fail to prosecute them here, a case can be made that they can be charged in the International Court of Justice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tunji Lardner, Executive Director, Wangonet, and Professor Chidi Odinkalu, Chairman, National Human Rights Commission. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure being here.
Well, that's the show today. We thank you all for watching and for sending your comments as well. We'll be back tomorrow. From all of us here today, I'm Chamberlain Uso. Good night.